Okay, listeners, now before we dive in, if you've ever felt like you're climbing the wrong mountain, like success isn't feeling as fulfilling as you thought it would, I've got something for you. I've hosted a free training called The Power of Vision, 3 keys to mastering your results. It's designed for entrepreneurs, coaches, and business leaders who feel like they should be further ahead, but there's something missing, something just not quite right. And you can grab instant access at www.ianwhiteheadcoaching.com/the power of vision. That's www.ianwhiteheadcoaching.com/the power of vision. Now start making that shift today. Now, my guest today, Blair Kaplan Venables, is such a powerful way to open the show. She is a best-selling author. She's featured in Amazon Prime's My Story, Season 1, Episode 3, I think. And she founded the Global Resilience Project, and you are going to love her stories of travel and adventure, as well as learning about her resilience framework that she takes her clients through as a leading expert and coach in the resilience and grief space. Enjoy. At the end of the sand, tall I stand, knowing it's the safest place to land. When the world feels loud and my thoughts crowd, the tide hushes them like a confidant proud. The wind combs my hair with fingers so fair, and I breathe in stillness that fills my soul with calm air, slowing my thoughts that roam to the rhythm and foam, and in nature's embrace, I remember I'm home. That's beautiful.
Well, thank you.
I think that resonates with me so much because I'm a huge advocate for people getting outdoors and living an adventurous life. And just actually, you don't even have to live an adventurous life, but just being outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
And my personal experience, I love being in the mountains. So you could just literally replace beach with mountains. And that's me all over.
What if you can be on the beach in the mountains? That was me. Like, I posted it with a picture, and that's we have a summer home. Like, we have a 30-foot trailer parked in the forest at a lake a couple hours from our house. And that's like where I go. It's my happy place. It's paradise. It's peace. And I felt inspired to write that after spending a weekend there, after a really chaotic travel schedule.
Nice. What kind of things do you want people to take away when you post something like that? So for me, I obviously just got inspiration, and it just like soothed my soul when I read it. I was like, yes, that is perfect. It's hard to explain. So what do you want people to take away from that kind of thing when you post that kind of thing out?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't write it for anyone but me. And so I shared it because it just felt really like profound and beautiful. And so if it could just inspire someone to maybe go outside, that would be great. But I have no expectations except for that writing helps me heal, and I share what I write.
Nice.
Yeah.
Tell me what adventure means to you.
Adventure. That's a great question. Doing something that's new and exciting and not really knowing what's going to happen. With no expectations.
Do you have an example that you can share that you've done yourself?
Oh yeah, like I had a lot of trauma happen to me, and I like kind of had a midlife crisis. And part of that crisis, I went on this big journey, but part of it was I had a very small bucket list. My bucket list has since grown, and one of the things on it was tracking gorillas in the jungle. And so I went on a trip to Uganda, and it wasn't a trip where I was just tracking gorillas. It was actually like an entrepreneurial group, and we had a bunch more adventures on top of the gorilla tracking. But I didn't really know what to expect, and I didn't like my brain only was like, you're going to go see gorillas in the jungle, like nothing else. And so that's all I knew that we were doing, and I didn't pay much attention to what what else we could be doing there, and we didn't really know. And so every day we woke up and we had a new adventure, a new activity, whether it was like hiking a volcano or up waterfalls or hanging out with the Batwa, who are some of the first humans of this planet, seeing their farmlands. And so for me, it's like I love the idea of like I kind of know what's happening, but not really in detail, because my life is super planned out in the sense of like my schedule is planned. Like with my work, things have to be really organized. And yeah, I don't know, with the adventure part, it's like having a little bit of a starting point and an ending point and not really knowing what's going to happen in the middle.
I love that. I love that. I mean, from my kind of echoes a bit of my life, really. So in my kind of day job as a project manager, I'm just constantly planning everything out.
Mm-hmm.
And then my personal life, I just want to leave to whatever comes. I can't stand planning my personal life.
I have to like plan in my schedule to not have a plan.
I love that.
I love knowing what I'm doing. So like if it's like, so Fridays I've blocked off on my calendar and they're flow Fridays, meaning like I don't do work for clients. It's like no one can book meetings with me, and it's a day where I just go with the flow. Yeah.
Nice. Love it.
Yeah.
What is it that called you to Uganda? Was it specifically just to go see the gorillas?
Yeah, I wasn't called to Uganda specifically. I was called to the gorillas. And so there's only a certain percentage of places in this planet where you can go see silverback gorillas in the wild. And I was on an email list for this entrepreneurial group, and Wayfinders, they're awesome. And yeah, I saw that and I just was like, okay. So I reached out and it worked out because I just like timing worked for me and my schedule, and it was just like it felt right, like the right place, right time, and like not going on my own, like finding, it was like instead of joining a tour group, I was joining another group of entrepreneurs, and there was other stuff and work we were doing, not just showing up and tracking the gorillas. But yeah, I got an email and I was like, that's what I want to do, and it worked out.
And what was it like? I can't imagine. I can't begin to imagine what it'd be like.
Yeah, so like we went, and you can go through multiple countries like Rwanda, and I'm not sure where else, but like we go with we hike into the jungle, we go with armed guards in case something happens, and there's forest rangers, and like they communicate about like where the gorillas families might be. And once we got there, it was wild. Like don't quote me on this, but like they share 99% of our DNA. And it was so cool to see like kind of where we've evolved from. And they're just like us. They're just like us. Like there was a mom hanging out with a baby. They were just like sitting in the trees. Some of them were walking around. Some of them were playing. I got pretty, like, you're supposed to keep your distance. So I got as close as I can get, but I got a really beautiful picture of like a gorilla like a gorilla head surrounded by leaves. And I blew it up and it's in my kitchen, my dining room. But yeah, it was just super cool to be so close to them. And I mean, they're trained, like these specific ones are like, I think, used to people, and like the tours fund the conservation of the forest. And they're protected because they're almost extinct. So, but it was really surreal and beautiful, and like so grateful for that opportunity. And it was expensive. Yeah.
I can imagine. Yeah. I can imagine.
Yeah. And so like, it's a trip that like, I don't need to do it again. Like there's other things I'd like to go on a safari. I'd love to go to Kenya and stay at the Giraffe Manor and like wake up to a giraffe head in my window. Like I have a big list of things I want to do. And like, I think that if there's any interest for anyone to do something like that, do it. Figure it out what it's going to cost. Save up the money. Like maybe it's a 5-year goal, maybe it's a 3-year goal. But someone I met shared that they did this experience, and it sounded so cool that I was like, one day I'm going to do that. And then in a very short period of time, my husband and I suffered a miscarriage. My father-in-law died, my mom died, and my dad died, and my mortality was questioned because all they talked about was when I retire, all the things I wanted to do. And I was like, I don't want to live a life I'm going to retire from. I'm just going to live my life and do things now. while I can. And like that's a like what I did was a pretty physical trip. Like people of all ages and backgrounds do it, but like I wasn't in the physical shape that I needed to be in, so like I felt it. But yeah, so like do the things, make the plans, have adventure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So was that grief then, I suppose, kind of a kick to the adventure for you, or was it
Yeah.
always there?
Well, I've always had adventure. Like as a little kid, like I went to summer camp and it was just like my favorite thing to do. It was on an island in the middle of a lake, a province away from where I grew up. And like we'd go on canoe trips, 5 days, 1 week, 2 week, 3 week, 4 week canoe trips where you're living out of a canoe and you're canoeing and portaging and with a group of girls. And like I loved it. And to me, that's a huge adventure. But I've been doing that since I was 8. And so I've always loved adventure. Like, oh, that's a cool experience. Like I went and like taught canoeing at a summer camp in Georgia for a couple of years, like very different than where I'm from in Canada, in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Backpacking, like kind of having a plan, knowing I need to get on a plane here and get on a plane here and seeing what happens. Like I'm pretty fearless. I used to call it like very impulsive, but I think it's intuitive. It's my ADHD superpower, but I'm very impulsive and intuitive. And my whole life has been an adventure. Like nothing's really been conventional for me. But I love it. Like, I think it's like I collect these experiences and I don't do things for the plot twist. I do things I want to do. And sometimes it's just like an experience for me. And sometimes crazy things happen and I share it. But I've always been like that. Grief, I would say grief didn't exasperate it. Like there's still the same amount of travel, but it really showed me that like it quite helped me like really realize our mortality, because I never used to live that way, but I was like, oh my God, my mom suddenly died at 62. She learned she had cancer, died 3 weeks later. Similar story to my father-in-law, and my husband right before that in his early 40s had a heart attack and quadruple bypass surgery and almost died. He's good now. And so I was like, I got shit I want to do. Like, I want to like live my life. Like, I want to be alive. I don't want to just like have this routine where I'm pushing buttons. And I went through some hard stuff and I was just like, this is the time, because you never know when you're going to get that phone call and things change.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It kind of brings to mind a quote that I heard once where I can't, and I'm paraphrasing, and I don't know who it was that said it, but it was most people live 1 year 90 times. Only a few people live 90 years or whatever it was. And it's just emphasizing making sure that you're doing new things all the time to make sure you're living a life worth living.
100%. And like a reminder, like we are actually in control. Like there's some things we can't control, but like if you're not happy, what aren't you happy about? Like what can you do to change that? And it doesn't need to be an overnight change. They can be micro things, but like you can actually live a happy life and there's things you can do to be happy, and it might piss other people off, but like you're in charge of you.
100%. Yeah. So where else in Africa have you been? Did I read correctly that you went to Ghana?
Yeah. So right before then I went to Ghana. So whenever my parents all died, I like thought I was probably going to die and I thought my marriage was going to implode. And I came into a bit of money. I'm like, I better spend all my money so no one can take it. So just still paying that off, but almost there. But anyways, I met a man on the internet and I believed in his mission. And like, he sent me his business plan. Don't worry, it wasn't like super crazy. And I helped him open a children's center for at-risk youth in rural Ghana. So before I went to Uganda, I flew to Ghana, and like I didn't go through an organized group. Like I was just with my connection God's way, and I flew into Accra and we spent a couple days there, and then I also led workshops while I was there, marketing workshops on thought leadership and grief and resilience workshops for the fashion school for kids. But yeah, we planned this big grand opening and got a bunch of the local media, which is a really big deal there, and a bunch of the chiefs from the different tribes. And we blessed the land and had this really beautiful ritual out in the Volta region in Hohoe, which is also known as America Town for some reason. And like it was just a crazy experience, like to see the kids that helped build out this property and to see the lives that God's Way is changing. Like there's such a need in that community for extra support so the kids can learn additional skills so they don't drop out of school and work in the cannabis fields or the markets. And like there's so many things that we can do, but they need more help than me or him can offer. So it was really like, you understand things, but you don't really understand sometimes things at a cellular level unless you live it with them. And I didn't even live it with them. Like, I was staying in a hotel with air conditioning, and they have to go and fetch water at the river, and they don't have sometimes they don't even have running water. And so it was just really harrowing to see how amazing and high spirited these kids were or are, and like the work that they did. And I spent time with them, and it wasn't enough time. And then the very end of that trip, I like met this guy Nana, and he is a healer, and he practices voodoo, and we did spells, and I hung out with him for a few hours, and he gave me this black tourmaline. And at one point I'm wrapped in a sheet holding a broom that looks like it's like incense smoking, and like looking at the sun, chanting. And my hand at one point was on a tree, and we're like pouring, I think it was vodka, could have been gin, on an alligator, and their turtles were running around. Like, we were doing spells. Like, and it wasn't like a spiritual tourism thing. Like, he was a connection to my connection. I was probably the first white person to be there. And people come from all over Africa or all over the region to see him. And it was so beautiful and really, really cool. But like, I didn't know I was going to do that, but it happened.
Nice.
So I went to Ghana. I was in Ghana like only a bit over a week. It wasn't enough time. And then I went to Uganda. And that's pretty much everywhere I've been in Africa. I do potentially have a Morocco trip coming up because I now help co-facilitate grief retreats. And so Rachel from Happy Grieving and I are looking at doing something in Morocco.
Nice. Tell us about that, the grief retreats. What does that entail?
So Rachel fully plans them. So her Instagram is at I think it's Happy Grieving and Grief Trips. And we just co-facilitated our first one together in April in Bali. And it's anyone who's experienced grief who wants to get together with other people and like work on their healing while also experiencing the culture, the community. And so I didn't really know what to expect. And it was really profound because I am a grief and resilience expert and coach, right? So it was just so beautiful to come together because sometimes, actually quite often in grief, especially like in my stage, I'm a vintage millennial or even younger, and there were people ages 23 to 61. It's hard to connect to other people who haven't experienced something as deep and painful as profound loss. Like, people want to be there and help you, but like they don't get it at a certain level. So it's nice to be around other people who understand that pain and to be there and to build that community. And so in Bali, it was amazing. So it's a mix of like workshops that we run and exercises and healing and adventure. So Rachel and I have a trip coming up actually in November to Australia.
Nice.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, if there is anyone obviously interested, then we'll put all the details in the show notes for people to get in touch.
Yeah, and they can just reach out to me and I'll connect them to Rachel. But like, yeah, so it'll be a 2-week trip in Australia, and I've never been to Australia. So I'm like, if I can pair helping people heal with cool places that I want to go that are on my bucket list, heck yeah.
Hell yes, absolutely. Yeah. Australia was on my list when I was traveling, but unfortunately I ran out of money and I had to go home. You
got to find work trips. Yeah, but I hear you. I mean, it's a big world. I have a huge list of places I want to go. And so we're working on planning grief trips in some of those places, because why not go to those magical places? Like, traveling is so healing, meeting other people, learning other people's stories, learning about grief cultures in other like countries. It's really, really cool. And like, I don't know, it's just, there's something about traveling that is so healing.
There really is. It's so eye-opening as well. It's just, I cannot recommend it enough for people.
Oh, yeah.
Cannot recommend it enough. And my partner just gets sick and tired of me talking about it, which is why I kind of set up this podcast so I can talk to other people about it who actually like it.
That's funny. I love travel. I love adventure. Like, I'll be doing it till I can't. And like, even if I ever end up like in a wheelchair or whatnot, I'm still doing it. If you know what I mean? Like, I will always find a way, unless it's like the end of life and I am stuck in bed. But like, there's just so much to see and do, even in our own backyard. Like, I live in British Columbia. Like, I live So I'm surrounded by like forests and lakes and rivers, and like I'm just even discovering, like, I've only been here for 4 years where I live now, but I'm discovering places that are only 15, 20 minutes away that are super epic. So like, you don't have to get on a plane and go to the other side of the world for adventure. It could be in your backyard.
Absolutely. But I do want to go to New Zealand.
Me too. I'll go one
I
day.
love that place.
I'll go one day.
Yeah. Have you been to Norway?
No, I'd love to. Me and Shane were gonna go there for a stoner rock festival, but it didn't work out. But I want to go to the whole Scandinavian part of Europe. Are you where are you? UK?
UK, yeah. So I went traveling back in 2012, 2013 now, for a year. And we went to Scandinavia, so Sweden, hired a car, and then drove around Sweden, Finland, and Norway. And Norway is just the most incredible place. If you love the mountains and water, you have got to go around the fjords of Norway. It's just unbelievable.
Sold. I mean, listen, it's interesting because my background's in marketing and PR. And while going through all of this, I became a grief and resilience expert and a writer and a motivational speaker. And so now my big goal is booking speaking engagements in places I want to go. So like Bali, right? Like that was, I spoke in Costa Rica. I was just in Utah speaking in the resort area. And so it's like, where do I want to go? And like, why not apply for like speaking engagements and like reach out to organizations? And like, that's the way to do it. Cause like, or win the lottery. Right?
Well, let's just concentrate on getting paid in a nice place.
Both. Yeah.
I love the idea that you're integrating the travel with the work side of things as well.
Yeah.
I think that's so massively important for people, especially when they find their purpose. I'm all about people finding their purpose and integrating their life into whatever it is they find as their purpose. So I love that. I love what you're doing there. That's amazing.
Thank you.
What is something that you have learned on your travels? So going seeing the gorillas and in Ghana with a witch doctor. Was it a witch doctor? If I got that right.
Like a voodoo healer.
Right. Okay.
He's a witch, but I learned witch doctors are not the same as witches.
Right. Okay. Okay. I stand corrected. What's one thing that you've learned that you never would have learned had you not been there? So, for instance, things that have changed your life. Yeah. What kind of transformations have you had?
Like I've traveled a lot. Like I live in North America, so I've done a lot of like travel in North America, a little bit in Central America. But being in Africa was my first time going to like the developing world. And I just like, I knew like how, I knew how poor some people were, but I didn't really understand it. Like some of my friends there, like they might eat one meal of rice every 2 days. Or, like I didn't, like I understood it, but then I saw it and made a connection with these people who have very limited resources. And it was just like so profound because in my grief, I'm sober. I'm 6.5 years sober. And while all that happened, I was sober. Thank you. And I'm still sober. And so I turned to shopping because it was the pandemic and eating. So like just like replaced my addiction. And, if I was like, oh, I found a sweater I liked, I'm going to buy it in 3 different colors. Oh, it's $200. That's $600. I came back like, what the hell am I doing? Like that could feed multiple families for months in Ghana. Like I saw how little they had and how happy they are with the least amount of things. And we're just so inundated with the shopping culture and spend and buy. And like, I recognize my privilege being like a white Canadian woman who had a really good education. I understand my privilege, and I didn't really understand it at a cellular level until I went and spent time in Ghana. And so ever since I've been back, I'm so different on how I spend money. And, I donated a whole bunch of stuff I have. I don't shop unless I absolutely need something. Like this dress I'm wearing, I think I've had for 10 years. So for example, I was going on a hike and I needed really good supportive hiking boots because I went on a 100-kilometer 7-day hike. I needed good boots. Like I'm flat footed and pigeon toed and have a bad back. So I had to get good boots. So I would never just before I'd be like, oh, I want those shoes and buy them. But I've just changed the way I show up. And also I started the Global Resilience Project before this. And it is a social enterprise, but there's now a bigger focus on giving back, whether it is through time, money, energy, because why not use our superpower for good and influence the world for good? So the biggest thing is how I'm showing up in the world and what I'm be able to give back. And, it's I'm going to always be learning, but the way I consume, my consumer behavior is so different.
I totally get that. And I never went to Africa. So I went to Scandinavia, and then we went into Canada, and then the US, and drove around the whole of the US. But even just walking around certain cities in the US, I was struck by how many homeless people there were.
Mm-hmm.
It was crazy to me how many homeless people there were just scattered around on the streets in the cities. I was just mind blown as to how this was allowed to happen. And it's kind of just makes you grateful.
Yeah.
And when people start moaning about little things, I'm just like, oh God, you have absolutely no idea. I mean, I have no idea, but you really don't have a clue.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And I think I've been doing a lot of healing since losing all those people, at a very deep, intentional level. And I look at those people on I'd say the majority of the homeless population, for example, where I live, versus the people in Ghana who have nothing or they have very little. I can see them as two separate cases because a lot of the times the homeless people here in North America, or at least in our region, it's a mental health issue. There's not enough mental health support. So I don't look and be like, oh, you didn't pay your bills, you're homeless. I see the drug addiction you have, and the addiction is related to mental health. And I'm able to look at that with compassion. I'm able to look at that with empathy, and just instead of ugh, there's so many homeless people, it's I feel really bad because there's not enough support for, we don't have enough beds in mental health facilities, in detox centers, in, rehabs. And I think it's a common problem. Definitely, I don't want to speak for other countries, but it's a problem in North America. And so that I look at very differently than the really happy child I met who doesn't have shoes, but they're playing whatever game they play and running around for hours, and then eating a very small bowl of rice, and they're living this life, but they don't know anything else. That's all they've known. And so they're not showing up as woe is me. It's us saying, wow, we feel really bad for you. Here's some shoes. And that, they're grateful, but they don't feel bad for themselves. Maybe they do. Yeah. I shouldn't speak for them, but.
No, I see what you're saying.
I mean, I can't say it, but I feel we know what we have, and they know what they have. And we're well, that we feel bad that you don't have what we have.
All right, listeners, if you love this episode so far, make sure you hit the follow. I think there's a like button, subscribe button, whatever it is. I think on YouTube there's a red bell that you have to hit to make sure that you never miss an episode, so you get the notifications when new episodes drop. Now, if you're getting value from today, what I want you to do is share it with somebody who you know who needs to hear the message that Blair is sharing in the episode today. Because real success isn't about keeping the good stuff to yourself. It's about spreading the word and helping as many people as we can. So let's spread that adventure. Now back to the show. tell me about this project you just mentioned.
Yeah, so the Global Resilience Project is a community and safe space where people share stories of resilience. And our main goal is to help people strengthen their resilience muscle using neuroscience. And we do that through multiple ways. We publish anthologies, and we have a podcast called Resilient AF with Blair and Alana. And we have a clothing line. We're going to be launching something in the fall. We do various activations and events online, in person. We do book launch events. And strategic partnerships is also how we help people.
And how are you getting on with the target of 88 million people by, is it August?
Yeah, 888 million people by August 2030.
Oh, 2030.
I still have time. It was going to be 88 million people by this year when I turn 40, but I've hit it because we've had a couple segments on TV with the viewership. So we're currently working on some projects, and I don't know how much I'm supposed to talk about, so I won't go too deep, but we're working on some projects that will definitely like hit our target well before 5 years from now. So yay.
That is mind blowing. Congratulations. I
Thank
mean,
you.
when I was looking at your website and I was reading, and then I found obviously some articles that you've done. I think it was in Elite X. It might have been. It mentioned that 88 million people by August 2025, and I was like, wow.
Yeah, I hit it.
That is a crazy goal.
Yeah, so we I filmed a TV show segment for a show called My Story. That's pay-per-view on Apple. And that viewership there is big. And then I've been on a couple TV segments, and then I've had a couple like very big public appearances, billboards in Times Square. So the goal is for them to like, I'm not going like, like if you have 300 listeners, I'm not like 300. It's kind of an estimate, but I think like for me, I'm a goal getter, and like I love having like a North Star. Like, what am I working towards? Do I say yes to this or no? Do I spend the money? Because everything costs. Do I spend the time? Everything costs time. Everything costs money. And like, do I do this? I don't have children. Listen, I didn't think I'd be a sober, childless, parentless bird watcher living where I do. But that's how the cookie crumbled. And so for me, it's like, what am I going to do with my time here? And what's my legacy? And I want to build out this community. I want to get on stages. I want to write. I want to be on podcasts. I want to help people be more resilient, because guess what? Life is really fucking hard. It's beautiful, but it's hard. And like, you can get through the hard times. You will. Like, it's an instinct to be resilient. Like, we have this resilience muscle. There's things you can do to make it stronger. So when life gets hard, you can get through it a little bit more easily. But I want to be that beacon of hope, that like lighthouse in the storm, because I had compound grief and trauma. And there's some people who have crazier things happen. There's some people who will never have a fraction of, what happened, but it doesn't matter because it's still going to impact them. And it's still going to be really hard on whatever level. And I really believe that like, if we have the tools, we can get through it. And the tools I teach aren't ones where you need money. It's for anyone from any socioeconomic background. It's for anyone that wants to like rewire their brain so they can get through the hard shit.
I love that. And you kind of brought me nicely onto what was going to be my next point, which was the TEDx talk that you did with regards to the 5 tools or 5 secrets to kind of building and strengthening that resilience muscle. So why don't we talk about that for a bit?
Okay, what do you want to know?
Well, let's go through those 5 tools and give the listeners some tools.
So, by the way, have you done a TED Talk?
No, it's on my bucket list.
I just want to talk about that for a second, because it's a lot of work. And I knew decades ago I wanted to give one, and I didn't know on what. And then after Shane's heart attack, my dad was dying, Shane's heart attack happened, the pandemic happened, miscarriage happened. I started really talking about resilience, and I started speaking about it, and I had a keynote about the 3 secrets. And then I had this like idea dropped in. I was like, oh my God, this is my keynote. And what I did was I signed up for a speaker's boot camp, not through TED, but like a speaker's boot camp. And I was like, I'm going to build out my talk. I want to build it out, and then I'm going to practice the shit out of it until the right TED Talk comes. And that's what I did. And I practiced it for 2 years. And then there was a TED Talk, and the theme was rethinking resilience. And I was like, nailed it. So if you want to do a TED Talk, start now. Start working on it now.
how unbelievably on point was that subject for,
I
for
know.
you?
Well, they reached out to me. They're like, you should apply. I'm like, okay. And I was in America and I'm in Canada. So um, I was like, oh, I don't know. And then like a lot of people applied. I was like, oh, they're not going to pick me. Like I'm in a different country. And they picked me. There was like 12 talks, I think 14, 12 or 13. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God. And the amount of work that I would have had to put in without the work I already had put in is a lot. So if you do want to do a TED Talk, figure out what it is now. Find like what I did, it was like a women's speakers boot camp. I don't think it exists anymore, but like begin working on that TED Talk now. And like the best way to do it is with a TED coach or with someone who is a professional speaker. Like I did it. I got coaching, and then over the 2 years like with it, I practiced cadence, delivery, memorization. So I just wanted to go on that little side quest because, Ian, if you want to do a TED Talk, it starts now.
I absolutely did. But quick question.
Yeah.
How many talks did you give like in public
Don't even
on
know.
stage before that TED Talk?
Well, virtual stages for a while because it was the pandemic. I don't even know, like a lot. Like I said, I still do. I say yes to almost every opportunity because I watched a documentary on Steve Aoki, the DJ. And in this documentary, when he was climbing the ranks of DJing, he said yes to absolutely every opportunity, didn't matter how big or small, to get the time in. Because you need to have 10,000 hours before you're the expert. Like
10,000
I
hours, yeah.
say yes. I mean, I say yes to podcasts I can. I say yes to stages I can. Like I practice and practice and practice. And like I think I'm still doing it. Like, and now, yes, I'm speaking on stages in, in theaters. I just came back from opening an event. I was opening keynote for Richard Branson. I closed a Canadian Women in Public Relations, talk. Like I'm putting the time in, and now I'm getting to do some really cool things, like speaking at the same event as someone like Richard Branson, right? And so say yes, do the prep, like, So yeah, the answer is I don't know how many stages, and I could go back and count, but that seems like annoying, so I won't. Actually, I probably will though, because I'm actually in the process of like my marketing about like how many stages, how many events I've done, because I know the high levels. Like I have big clients like the NHL, and like a fair amount like Canadian big companies, North American big companies. But I do want to go back and figure it out because I'm going to be working on a demo reel. But
Nice.
it's like going to be like me looking at my calendar and like counting and figuring out that.
Your calendar goes back that far?
But I'm going to go back as far as I can and then see what else I remember. But like during that time, I had so much grief that it's like I have amnesia. Like I don't really remember like chunks. Like compound grief it's like brain damage. It's terrible.
And it sounded, as you were talking earlier, and I've obviously listened to your TED Talk, it's like everything just happened in such a condensed amount of time. So when you're saying that compounding effect, Jesus.
Yeah. It was like compounding. It just kept happening, and it was complex because like also there's so many things in there, right? Always wanting to get pregnant, being told I couldn't get pregnant. I got pregnant, I miscarried, then all the parents died, and then like, the grief of like all the things that will never be and all the things that can't be and all the things I want that I don't want anymore, and like who I thought I was, like hence the Africa midlife crisis. Yeah. So you wanted, okay, so I don't know how much, well, we don't have too much time. So I'm going to go high level, but I want to invite you to watch the TED Talk because I go into these in detail. And so this isn't a definitive list. These are the 5 ways I like to tell people to suggest, not tell, but I suggest you do to strengthen your resilience muscle. And the first one is gratitude, practicing gratitude, but in a very specific way. And if you list 3 things you are grateful for in as much detail as possible in the past 24 hours, and you do that at the exact same time every single day for at least 21 days, what happens is your brain starts to rewire. Your brain starts to rewire, and you start to see the world in a more positive way. I've been doing that since 2016. Okay. And if you watch the TED Talk, you'll see like my mom did it on her deathbed. Like you have no excuse. You saw my TED Talk, 2, forest bathing. No, like, I mean, if you can have a bathtub set up in the forest, that's cool. Like, that's like legit forest bathing. But forest bathing is just going out into nature, and at least 10 minutes a day in a green space reduces your stress hormone cortisol and boosts your immunity and reduces stress and anxiety. And it's just like, there's lots of other science about why it's so good for you. I every morning when it's not like super deep winter, I go for a hike. This morning I went for an hour hike and then I went to the gym and did strength training. But I go for a hike outside. If I can't do that, I make sure I get out later in the day and go for a walk. If you don't have access to nature or a forest, maybe you find a park. My office is also covered in real and fake plants. Okay, so forest bathing. Fuel. What you put in your face holes matter. What that means is not just what you eat matters, but what you watch, what you smell, what you listen to. What activates your nervous system into fight or flight. Like, does heavy metal really drive you crazy, but your husband likes to listen to it? Often I'm like, Shane, we have to shut the song off. Like, next. Certain smells might take you back to a happy time. Certain smells might trigger a response. What you watch matters. Like, the news is crazy. Wars, government, politics, that. Like, there is good in the world, but the news doesn't show all the good. Stop watching the news. Like, turn the news off. Like, maybe, maybe you check like a news app. Maybe you have someone who's like keeping you high level in the loop. But like, if the news is triggering you, you don't have to watch the news, right? Same with TV. Like, I love Grey's Anatomy, and like after my mom died, I couldn't watch Grey's Anatomy for a while. It was just a trigger for me. Like, I spent a lot of time in hospitals with Shane being in the hospital, the miscarriage, and then the parents dying. Like, I was in the hospital a lot, and like, it just like, I couldn't watch Grey's Anatomy. I couldn't watch reality TV because it was lots of drama. So what you put in your face holes matter. What are you going to add? What are you going to remove? Things that bring you joy, that bring you peace, you add. Things that trigger you or frustrate you, make you upset, angry, sad, remove. So we did that. Forest bathing. Sleep. That's my favorite one. Sleep, like, we know this, but a reminder is like, sleep is so important. A lack of sleep compromises your immune system, triggers anxiety, doesn't allow you to heal. Like, you need sleep. Like, and there's lots of studies that just like have the science behind it about the importance of sleep. And in the biohacking world, like, you'll see that like sleep is a priority. So like, your morning starts the night before. And what are you doing to maximize sleep? So like, I got rid of my alarm. Like, I don't use my phone alarm. I use a sunrise alarm, and I wake up naturally to that. I make sure that like, I need 8 hours of sleep, and I get up and I'm physically active. So like, I'm in bed between 9 and 10, and I'm up between 5 and 5:30. And if I know I have to get up, or I choose to get up and do those things, I put myself to bed. If I don't have an adequate amount of sleep, I nap. I've canceled meetings. I've rearranged my life because I'm too tired. I've, left parties because it's bedtime. I've had people at my house where I'm like, guys, it's bedtime. Bye. Sleep is such a priority. Are you getting into bed and scrolling on your phone? How long are you doing that? It's terrible to do that. Do you fall asleep to the TV? That's disrupting your sleep, right? And in the morning, are you reaching for your phone first thing? Like, take back your mornings, right? Like, sleep is so important, but so is your morning. Like, you don't owe anyone anything first thing in the morning unless you have a little kid. You might owe them that. But wake up. Like, I have a many hour like morning routine. I wake up, I journal, I go hiking, I do a strength training workout, I meditate and pull an oracle card, I drink my coffee, I pet my cats. Like, I ease into my day. And I'm a writer. I'm working on a couple other projects. Then I usually spend some time writing before my day begins, working at, for my clients. And you actually get to choose that. So if you're like, I don't have time, but you know that you're scrolling for an hour before bed or first thing, like, you do have time, and you don't need an hour. Maybe you just need 10 minutes. Maybe you want 10 minutes, 5 minutes to meditate, 5 minutes to journal. You get to choose. But sleep and like how you end your day and start your day really matter. And then storytelling. Storytelling is so important. There is a phenomenon called neural coupling. And what that is that when I tell a story and you listen to that story, our brains synchronize. And what happens there is that it builds empathy, and you need empathy for emotional resilience. And also, it's not healthy to hold in your story. You're not supposed to hold in your pee. You shouldn't hold in your emotions. You shouldn't hold in your story. We all have a story. We've all been through the good and the bad. And maybe that means getting a counselor or a therapist or a mental health expert, maybe working with a grief coach like me or a resilience coach. I'm a grief and resilience coach. Maybe it's writing in a journal and just processing those thoughts and no one ever has to see it. Maybe it's standing in front of the mirror, talking about it to yourself. Maybe it's confiding in a friend or family member. Maybe it's writing out your story and submitting it to a project like the Global Resilience Project, or putting it on a blog, because also sharing your story helps you process and heal, but also sharing your story might help someone else navigate their challenges. You might be saving a life. You might be helping someone get through the worst days of their life. So sharing your story is the fifth way I teach people to strengthen their resilience muscle. And it's the foundation of how our whole community has been built.
Amazing. When I listened to your TED Talk earlier, and I was listening to those 5 steps, I was like, so good. The first one, especially the gratitude. And it's one, I'm so hard on myself. And so my coach said to me, why don't we add in there something that you're proud of yourself for? Just one thing on a daily basis. So I started adding in, I'm proud of blah, 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 whatever it was for the past 24 hours that I've done. It's such a change. I'm less critical of myself. So I used to make a mistake and I'd be like, oh, you fucking idiot. Whereas now I just don't have that kind of subconscious language running through my mind so much anymore. So that has massively helped, just adding in that I'm proud of. And obviously for me, the getting outside. I mean, for me personally, I used to shut my laptop down at the end of the day and I would have a physical buzzing fog of noise in my head and I would just want to sit in complete and utter silence. Mm-hmm. But when I get out into nature and the mountains, it just washes away. Mm-hmm. It's just glorious. So I'm massive advocate for that. Absolutely.
Listen, I'm a little bit of woo. I'm Jewish and I'm woo and I like science. So whether you're on the science side or the woo side, here we are. Like, it's like,
yeah, it all
do you
works.
Want to feel better? Do you want to be less stressed out? Go outside. Like, it's, and like, that's the thing is like, we all, like, you're like, my schedule's too busy. I can't get outside. Well, maybe you have it's because there's meetings. Maybe one's not a Zoom meeting, or maybe you take it on the go. Like, you can multitask if you feel like you really can't fit it in. And there's probably things that you guys can remove from your schedule to make room for the things that are going to nourish you, to help you strengthen that resilience muscle, right? So, yeah.
What a wonderful place to leave it. So thank you very much, Blair. Really appreciate you having on as a guest, and I'd love to have you back on in the future as well and hear about these retreats around the world that you're doing.
Yeah. I would love that. Thank you, Ian, for having me. This was such a pleasure. And I love talking about this. As you can see, it like completely lights me up. And I think just if you're listening, you're going through a hard time, just remember you're not alone. Like, it's okay to not be okay, but you will get through it. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And if you need additional support, go to theglobalresilienceproject.com.
Excellent. We'll add everything into the show notes as well for people, and a link to your TED Talk as well.
Amazing. Thank you.
Have you ever felt like business should be more than numbers and deadlines? Like there's an entire world to explore beyond your office walls? Is adventure calling your name? I'm Ian Whitehead, and I'm your guide on Uncharted, the Entrepreneur's Adventure podcast, where I bring you real stories from visionary leaders who've built empires and climbed literal mountains. Because success isn't just about the bottom line, it's about the thrill of taking risks, the courage to pursue what truly lights you up, and the freedom to chart your own course. Each week we'll dive deep into the minds of boundary-pushing entrepreneurs and adventurers, revealing how they found purpose in the chaos and discovered their true north, both in business and beyond. So, if you're ready to break free from the ordinary, embrace bold action and inject a little more adventure into your life, welcome to Uncharted. Your journey starts here.